Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how you doing today?
I am doing good, Joe. We know you're having a little internet connections today, so you look a little, that's because you're off having too much fun at Crystal Mountain. And Jay and I are stuck here in our offices here, kicking off the new year. So this, you guys, I'm excited. This is a different format for us here for 2021. You're going to get to look at us. You're going to look at us and all our guests kicking off this year with live video. That's just something we've decided to do for 2021. And I wanted to make it super special today. So I'll call a celebrity with us today. We have Mr. Jay Scott with us today. Personally been a fan of his for years and years, kind of silently on the sidelines. But for those of you that don't know Jay Scott, we're going to get to know him today. For me, I'll say in the initial COVID slowdown, what happened is I started taking these long walks back in, March or whenever my kids ended up having to stay home from school to get away from them. I guess I'll say I started taking long walks, and I'm so busy like all of you guys are. But I took a slow down moment, right? And I started listening to more and more podcasts and, just trying to slow down and plug into what's going on in our economy. And I found myself just absolutely drawn to Jay Scott here, and just the way that Jay has about him in explaining macroeconomics and the bigger picture of how economics in general touches real estate investors and basically anybody in business. And so that is when I really started becoming like, oh, I gotta get to know Jay. It's been that was March, and now it's January of 2021. So takes a long time to start dating me, Jay. That's all I'm saying. So this is a big moment for me because I've been such a fan of Jay's, and I'm a total nerd, okay? And I suspect, Jay, that you lean a little nerd as well.
Probably a lot nerd.
Oh man, I am secretly, or now not. I'm telling. This is my nerd out party right now. I'm a super nerd, and I became obsessed with macroeconomics and finance like never before. Just never slowed down enough before to learn more, because I'm keeping up with more real estate education, and that's such an important part of real estate. But it's complicated when we start talking about all these stimulus bills and printing money and tying it back into the macroeconomy. And while we might not go deep dive on that today, I'll say that you are my go-to guy these months to help myself become more educated about macroeconomics. And now I am obsessed with finance channels and things like that. So thank you secretly for that. Here we are today. So many of you guys know Jay, and many of you are Bigger Pockets fans and recognize Jay as the host of the Bigger Pockets Business Podcast. And many of you also might own some of his books, which include the book on flipping houses, the book on estimating rehab costs, the book on negotiating real estate, one of my favorite, and recession-proof investing. Since 2008, thanks, Tarl, I'm stealing your bio here. Since 2008, Jay's completed over 400 deals. He has in-depth knowledge on flipping, buy holds, multifamily, notes, lending, development, new construction, you name it. This is our guy. And you guys can all connect with Jay more at connectwithjayscott.com. Check it out, connectwithjayscott.com. So yes, 2021, here we go, kicking it off.
I'm excited. I'm so glad to have 2020 behind us.
God, right? I know it. I know
crazy year.
It is. So Joe, we're gonna skip off. We're gonna go straight to it today because I have too much to talk to Jay about. I think, like we said, Joe is having some internet issues because he's the lucky one up at Crystal Mountain about to go snowboarding as soon as we jump off this podcast today. And so thanks, Joe. Can you go ahead and ask our first question? We'll kick it off like normal.
Heck yeah, Jay. Our first question is always about getting to know you better. And we would love to hear where you grew up, how you grew up, and how it got you into this crazy world of real estate.
Yeah, so I'm an accidental real estate investor. This wasn't something like, I know a lot of people, they spend their lives getting really excited about real estate investing, and they think about it through high school, and maybe they go to college and they're planning for buying their first property, and it's like a 10-year journey before they actually get into it and they're excited about it. It was very different for my wife and myself when we started. We were in the corporate world. I'm an engineer by education. I went the corporate tech route. My wife and I met in Silicon Valley, California, both working in the tech world. And that was me. I was a geeky engineer, like you, Julie. Just I'm a nerd, and
Nerd.
Yeah, absolutely. And so back in 2008, my wife and I decided to get married. She was working a ridiculous number of hours a week. She was traveling a few weeks a month for her job. I was working a ridiculous number of hours a week at Microsoft. I was traveling several weeks a month for my job. We never saw each other. And we knew that once we got married, there was no way we were going to be able to keep up that lifestyle if we wanted to have kids and grow a family. We were both in our 30s at the time. So it was one of those, hey, we either need to decide no kids, or we need to kind of leave the whole tech world and then focus on family. So easy decision for us. We left the tech world. I mean, it was a 5-minute conversation. What are we going to do? Let's quit our jobs. Okay, let's quit our jobs. What are we going to do next? We'll figure it out. And so April of 2008, we quit our jobs. We moved from California back to the East Coast, and we decided we'll figure out what's next. And while we were trying to figure out what was next, my wife one day was watching HGTV, and she said, "Let's flip a house." And I thought she was joking. Literally, we had just bought our first house ever. I was in my mid-30s, just bought my first house. It was my personal residence. I am the least handy person on the planet. I mean, I can barely change a light bulb. And so when my wife said that, I thought she was joking, but she was serious, and I wanted her to marry me. So I wasn't going to say no to that little request. So I said, okay, let's flip a house. And so I jumped on the internet and I started doing some research. I think I bought a book or two, and about 4 months later, we bought our first flip, and it was just going to be something we were going to do while we figured out what we wanted to do. This wasn't a business for us. In fact, for me, I wasn't even enjoying it. It was something I didn't want to do, but I was doing it for her. And one flip turned to 2, turned to 5, turned to 10. And here we are 12 years later. And it turns out that next thing that we were going to do ended up being real estate.
Wow.
And it wasn't something that we ever sat down and planned. We were probably 50 flips and 2 or 3 years in before we realized real estate's kind of our thing now. And so here we are. And unlike most people, it wasn't a planned thing, and don't know how it happened. It just kind of happened. And yeah.
There you go. I'm curious to know, when you quit your jobs again, what did you think you were going to do?
We were thinking we wanted a lifestyle business. So we knew we wanted something that would allow us to put our family first, and that would allow us to kind of work around family. So we had talked about potentially buying a franchise. We talked about starting a small business. I was talking about everything from I love ice cream and baking, so maybe starting a bakery, to starting a pet food store. I'm big into animals and dogs, and I was thinking I love animals, and maybe I'll open a pet store, and who knows? We had no idea, but basically we were planning to go the small business route, like a lot of people, and either buying a business or starting a business. We weren't too concerned. We both had a lot of business experience, and I think that's kind of been an overriding theme in our real estate lives, is that we treat our real estate business like a business, because we're not real estate people. We're business people. And so for me, it was just buying or starting a business is pretty easy. And so we'll figure it out. And like I said, we never quite got there. We fell into real estate instead.
That is a good story. It's funny, because I either hear a lot of people have I fell into it accidentally because it blew me away when I, kept or sold my first home and how much money I made, or it's like, yeah, I started, being interested in real estate in middle school and got my license at 18. It seems to be kind of one or the other. I myself got into it because I was an accounting major, and I got my first real big job, I guess I'll say, in the accounting department of a national property management company. And that company went around and bought other property management companies nationally. Actually, I used to fly to Florida a lot we own a bunch of buildings out there in like West Palm and Brandon and those places.
Yep.
And that's how I got started, is more so on the private real estate investment company side and big multifamily value add plays and stuff like that. Just, it's like it hooks you. It's like a addiction, I guess.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time, and serendipity.
Well, I'm going to ask you a quick question just to get it out of the way, but what's your relationship with Bigger Pockets, and, how did that start, and what do you do for Bigger Pockets now? Because a lot of people here probably have been introduced to you from Bigger Pockets, or maybe from Fixated on Real Estate, our friends Tarl and Grace.
Yeah. So it's funny. I found Bigger Pockets. Like I said, when my wife said, let's flip a house, I jumped on the internet and started doing research. And really the only decent place I could find on the internet back in 2008 talking about real estate investing was Bigger Pockets. It was the most vibrant community. It was a small community at the time, probably 10 or 20,000 people, which compared to the 2 million today is pretty small. And so I jumped on there. I knew nothing, and I started to learn. And what I realized was, hey, this is a great community of people that I can learn from. Found a couple people local to me at the time that literally met up in real life, and they helped jumpstart our real estate career. And over the next year or two, because I came from the tech world, I kind of got introduced to the guy that started Bigger Pockets, Josh Dorkin, and he was looking to grow the site. And between my tech and business experience, I was very interested in what he was building. So we started talking, and we would do once or twice a week discussions. I mean, at the time it was just him. He had been running the site for 5 or 6 years. And so I gave him some feedback on technology and growing the business. And before I knew it, we became really good friends. And I just was ingrained in the business from the back end, just helping him out. No formal relationship. I wasn't being paid. I was just helping him as a friend. And then in 2013, after I'd done a bunch of flips, I started contributing to the site, writing articles. 2013, I had written a book, 2 books actually, the flipping book and the estimating rehab cost book. And I went to Josh and I said, hey, I don't really know what to do with these books. Any shot you want to publish them? And we can sell them through Bigger Pockets. We can split the revenue. And he thought about it for a little while. He said, yeah, it's not a bad idea. And so back in 2013, we kind of worked together to publish those first 2 books, which became the beginning of Bigger Pockets Publishing, which now has many dozens of books, and it's the largest real estate investing publisher on the planet. But again, just another thing that just serendipity. We just happened to fall into it. I happened to write the books. They picked them up. And so at that point I became...
Why did you write the book? Just curious. Like, what... Are you just like, you're nerds, so you just wrote a book? So
this is going to sound ridiculous, but this is the honest to God's truth. I wrote the books because I had a website, 123 Flip, still out there, where I was chronicling all of my flips in gory detail. And I started to get a pretty big following on the website. And because I had a pretty big following, I started getting text messages and phone calls and emails, people that wanted to take me to lunch and people that wanted to talk on the phone and people that wanted to meet up at conferences. And I am a tremendous introvert. And there is nothing that I hate more than talking on the phone or meeting random people for lunch. Like, that is just so stressful to me. But I'm also a people pleaser. So every time somebody called me and said, hey, can I just ask you a few questions? I'd be like, okay. Or can I take you to lunch to ask you a few questions? I'd be like, okay. And so I was in this weird situation where I didn't want to be having all these random conversations because I'm an introvert, but I also wanted to help people when they wanted my advice. And so my wife said, hey, why don't you just take all this information that's in your head, put it in a book. And when people call you, you just say, here's my book, go read it. And if you have any questions after you read the book, then come talk to me. And
That makes absolute sense.
Yeah. And so I wrote the books. I didn't do it as a way to get famous. I didn't do it as a way to make money. I did it as a way to avoid having to talk to people on the phone and go to lunch with strangers.
What's crazy is that is why our podcast exists, the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing, because I was, as the co-founder with Joe of Seattle Investors Club, we were kind of the OG in town at the time. And I would constantly have people constantly calling me and reaching out to me. And I thought, boy, let me just cover all these topics in podcasts. So now when everybody contacts me, I first say, go listen to podcast number 63 on legal wholesaling. Go listen to this. And then, if you have questions afterwards, reach out to me then. Most of the time, podcasts answer all their questions. And that's why this podcast exists, was
exactly
a selfish way of housing, kind of like a FAQs type of thing.
100%. And that's exactly the reason I wrote the books, the first two books. So Josh agreed to publish them. They became bestsellers very quickly. I never expected that, but people ended up loving the books. And Josh and I have worked together. He actually sold part of the business to a private equity firm a couple years ago. So he's no longer day-to-day involved in the business, but I'm an advisor to the company. And so I still write books for the company, and I still do some consulting to them. So I'm not an official Bigger Pockets employee, but I co-host one of their podcasts with my wife, and I'm heavily involved in the business, even though I'm not technically an employee of Bigger Pockets.
Super cool. I love all the behind the scenes info. That's kind of fun, right? Here you go, guys. So let me get into your business a little bit. And we're not going to talk today about how to flip houses or BRRRR strategies and all this other stuff, guys, because all that information is out there, not only on the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing. We've got a really good BRRRR one that we just put out, BRRRR financing strategies that we just put out with certain lending, if you guys haven't seen it yet. But check it out, Bigger Pockets. Obviously, go to connectwithjscott.com. Just plug in, because this is my guy. So you guys, that's what I do. I like to pick out, I vet the smartest people that I want to talk to, and I just talk to them in front of my friends. So that's what we're doing here today, guys. That's the premise of the Nuts and Bolts Real Estate Investing podcast. So Jay, how long did you, this is going to lead me down a path of some other questions. How long did you flip before you decided to keep some of your properties? I mean, even Tarl and some of the biggest flippers here out in the Pacific Northwest, they just flip. And then one day they go, damn it, I should have kept some of those. How long did that take you to realize? Or did you screw up a flip and get forced to keep it, which is another way people end up with rental properties?
I've only been forced to keep one flip, and that was the very first one. We ended up keeping it. We got scared when we couldn't sell it after 3 weeks. This was back in 2008 at the deepest part of the Great Recession. I don't know what we were thinking that we could sell a flip quickly. But we got freaked out when we couldn't sell it after 3 weeks. And so we did a lease option. They ended up staying 2.5 years. Then they trashed the place. They left. We did a second rehab. At that point, we had done like 60 or 70 flips, and we sold it off. I like to tell a story, because this is when people ask me like the best advice that I have in real estate. It's actually advice that was given to me that I didn't follow back in 2008. I was starting to flip houses. There was a local investor in my area that everybody knew pretty well, and I convinced him to go to lunch with me. And I asked that typical question everybody asks: so what's your secret? What's something I should know? What shouldn't I screw up? And his response was, the biggest mistake I ever made in real estate was every house I ever sold. That's what he said to me. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, okay, well, whatever. I want to flip houses, so I'm going to sell a lot of houses. And he said, do not flip houses. Buy rentals, hold rentals, long-term wealth. And I was like, okay, well, I appreciate your advice. Thanks. Bye. And here we are 12 years later. And the biggest regret I have in real estate is every house I ever sold.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it took me several years before I realized he was correct. I'm not sure there's anything he could have said to me at the time that could have gotten through to me. But I'm glad he did say it, because one day it really did register. And here's the thing. It's not that we didn't keep rentals. I kept a lot of rentals. I probably bought 50 rentals between 2008 and 2015. The problem is I was managing them myself. And within 1 or 2 or 3 years of holding each one, I got sick of the management. I got sick of dealing with the tenants. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to sell it. Or the price popped up and I could make an extra $20,000, and then it became a long-term flip. And I could pay capital gains. I could pay 20% on a flip as opposed to 40% on a flip. So why not sell them? And so all of these rentals that I was holding over the years, I would eventually sell. And once again, my wife was the smart one. She kept telling me, why are you selling? Why are you selling? Why are you selling? And I was the one that kept saying, well, look at all this cash we're making. Look at all these buckets of cash. And again, here we are, 2020. And I look back and literally dozens of rentals that we bought, that we sold, that I wish we would have kept. So
Right.
it was probably 2015 before I finally woke up and realized, when I buy a rental, I am never going to sell it. And so we've been holding rentals since about 2015. We still flip a bunch, but we do rentals as well.
I've been educating real estate investors for a long time. I'm an investor. I'm kind of out of the bigger pond on multifamily.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of did the reverse in. I was focused on multifamily, big, even condo conversions, and I've owned office buildings and kind of the reverse way in, I guess we'll save that for another time. But it's always, I for a long time, I was like, why is nobody listening when I say, why are you selling? Why don't you hold these properties? And I've come to the conclusion, it's because it's like with my general contractor friends. I finally have convinced some, especially in the market that we're in right now, that you don't need to flip. I know you can't stop yourself. So I think some people flip and continue to flip and ignore the advice, like you're just saying, right? Because they just want to flip. They like to see their product get out there with their brand and do their social media posting. And they just like the idea of flipping, and they think it's going to be fun. And so they do it. And they continue to do it because once they get their formula down, it's easier for them. And they just like that brand. I can't figure out any other reason why people aren't understanding how to grow your wealth, because flipping is not growing your wealth.
I think there are a lot of people out there, and I was in this bucket as well, who start flipping and they think, I'm young, this is easy, I'll do this for 10 or 20 or 50 years, and then at some point I'll have all this cash, and I'll go out, I'll park the cash, and I'll live off the cash flow. I think what a lot of people don't realize is flipping is a chore. It's a job.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah. And I think we did it right. We focused on it very much like a business. I never worked in it. I always hired other people. I was very rarely at the houses. But even after a couple years, I got burned out. And by 2013, 2014, 4 or 5 years in, I never wanted to flip another house. And if I would have realized, if somebody would have been able to convince me how much I was going to hate flipping houses after a few years, I probably would have held rentals earlier. And I wouldn't have sold them. But I was convinced that flipping houses is easy, it's fun, and I'm going to want to do this for 20 years. And then at some point, I'll take all the cash that I've accumulated and plow that into rentals. But for the time being, I'll take the cash and I'll flip more houses. And so I think a lot of people kind of fall into that trap of thinking it's fun, it's easy, it can last forever. And then they get a little bit older and they get a little bit wiser and they get a little bit lazier and they realize that flipping houses isn't that thing that most people are going to want to do for the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, I think I look at it as like everybody has their way to generate their capital, right?
Yep.
Whether that's, for me, that might be brokerage, or, I own rentals as well, or it might be flipping. Flipping might be your way to generate capital so you can go buy rentals.
Yes.
Right. So what we're trying to tell, I'm going deeper down this rabbit hole today. It's kind of leading me into something here. I'm setting you up. And I just want to let you guys all know out there that flipping houses, if that's what you enjoy for your day job, I enjoy as my day job brokerage. Somebody else might enjoy as their day job flipping houses, because that's what it is a day job. In fact, if you work at Microsoft or Amazon or wherever you work and you enjoy your day job and that brings you the ability to raise capital or save money, that's all that we're doing here. So this is what I think, so we can go buy rentals, so we can grow our net worth and, chase the financial freedom and all that other stuff. But so I'm just saying, guys, if you are in a day job, that's fine, because all flipping is a day job. Don't quit your job, because me saying don't quit your job is leading you down the rabbit hole. I'm going to take you down a little bit further today, later on. So,
everybody needs to have two sources of income. You need to have your active income and your passive income. And maybe it's not perfectly passive, but your cash flow income. And people always ask me, should I flip houses or should I buy rentals? And what I tell them is, that's not the options. You can do both. You need to find an active source of income and you need to find a passive source of income. And just like you said, Julie, that active source of income, it could be flipping houses, or it could be wholesaling, or it could be a job, or you can be a consultant, or you can start a business, or you can sell drugs, or whatever it is you want and don't sell drugs, but you know what I'm saying? There's this income that you trade your time for, and then there's the passive income, and that's the income that you trade your income for. You take some of your income, you invest in something, and it pays you dividends on a weekly or monthly or quarterly or annual basis. And so figure out what that active source of income is, and then take as much of that money as you can and plow that into some passive form of income. Rentals is a great thing. Multifamily is a great thing. Maybe you put it in the stock market and you get dividends. I mean, it's up to you what that is. But don't conflate the passive income sources like rentals with the active income sources like flipping or having a business.
Right. I mean, there's so much information out there today, so much free information, so much great information, almost too much information. And I guess what I'm taking it upon myself, just because I feel like it, it's my show, I can do what I want, to let everybody know you don't have to flip houses in order to go straight to rentals. Although in our market, maybe one of the strategies in order to make it pencil would be a BRRRR, like flip to hold. Sometimes you're kind of forced to get in the flip game because that's the way you're going to make deals pencil in your own market. If you don't want to invest outside your own market, that might be less expensive. But if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you haven't met Jennifer Beatles and you don't know about Addicted to ROI and Agents Invest, go check out our friend Jennifer. We're all friends here. We all help each other out, in our communities here. So let me just ask you, Jay, what's your 2021 business plan? Knowing wherever we sit today, we'll do a little deep dive on, where we are today. But first, we all know where we are today. We all know what's happened. We're a year into this thing almost, or getting there. So for you, what's your business plan for 2021?
So I have my real estate goals for 2021, and then I have my other business goals for 2021. I get bored easily. So I have trouble focusing on anything for long periods of time. I'm a big proponent of spend as much time as you need to get really good at something before you move on to the next thing. So for me, that's generally 3 or 4 years. So, but every 3 or 4 years, I get really bored of whatever it is I'm doing. I like that I've spent the 3 or 4 years. I can kind of put that knowledge and expertise kind of in my long-term bag, and I can pull it out whenever I need it. And then I move on to the next thing. So we flipped houses for several years, and then we did rentals for several years, and I've done notes for several years. And then last year we started buying businesses. So we're doing running some active businesses. I do some angel investing. So I invest in other people's businesses. So we do a whole lot. But on the real estate side, we just did our first multifamily syndication a couple months ago. So we're looking to buy a couple more large apartment complexes. That's something that I've been very actively invested in over the last year or so. Finally feeling like we're starting to get a foothold and build relationships with brokers and getting some ins in a couple cities that we really like. So I expect in 2021 that we'll do some additional multifamily syndications. And we want to head in the direction of multifamily development as well.
Oh, wow. Good stuff. Of all those things that you mentioned, two questions. Which one do you think is the low-hanging fruit that you might be able to capitalize on the best? Off the top of my head, I feel like buying businesses is an interesting thing. I'd love to have you come back on. I've been looking for somebody to come on the show and talk about buying businesses. If I can twist your arm to come back and talk about that as we get into 2021, I'll do that. But of all those things you mentioned that you do, which is your personal favorite?
So favorite isn't necessarily the best. And that's one of the reasons I like to be diversified. And so some of the things we do are higher risk, but potentially higher reward. Some things are low risk, lower reward. My favorite is angel investing. So I love investing in other businesses. But unlike real estate, it's much more difficult to forecast your ROI. So typically angel investing is investing in other businesses. It's a diversification play. You invest in a bunch of businesses, a bunch of them are going to go out of business. Some of them might break even and you hope to get really lucky with one or two. So that's my favorite.
Business sector that you're focused on?
I'm a big fan of technology because I know technology, and I'm also a big fan of industry called prop tech, which is property technology.
Oh yeah, no, I'm following you. So you watching the Open Door IPO and all that stuff?
Yep. So the Open Door SPAC was a good investment. Many of us bought it a couple months ago and are finally able to sell it now. So there have been some good opportunities in that space over the last few months and year.
You are my nerd brother. I'm right behind you.
Absolutely. What I see as the biggest opportunity for anybody listening, I think buying businesses, like you mentioned, is a huge opportunity. And I look at it like this. So back in 2008, anybody that was paying attention realized that there was a huge opportunity in real estate. Foreclosure rate was through the roof. A lot of people losing their homes. Economy was in the tank. And so a lot of us made a lot of money between 2008 and 2012 buying really cheap real estate because that whole industry was in shambles. Here we are 12 years later. Real estate is kind of at an all-time high. The industry is doing very well in a lot of respects. And so it's hard to make a lot of money off of real estate right now. But the industry that's going to be in shambles and it's starting to fall apart is the business world, especially the small business world. And with COVID and with the shutdowns, the quarantines, there are a lot of small business owners who are losing their businesses or will be losing their businesses in the near future. So the government put out a lot of stimulus for several months, PPP loans, EIDL loans.
It just passed we're recording this December 22nd. They just passed the stimulus bill last night.
Yep. They just passed the stimulus bill. And so it looks like there's going to be some more PPP money, and they're doing more forgiveness for PPP. And so there are a lot of businesses that are staying afloat, but barely. And I have a feeling that over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, we're going to see a lot of small businesses that go away. There are going to be a lot of business owners who they may be able to technically stay in business, but after the past year, they're just tired and they're done with it and they just want to be out. There are going to be some business owners who just decide, I'd rather just go back to my 9 to 5. There are going to be some business owners who are nearing retirement, and now they just don't feel like rebuilding. They'd rather get out now. And then there are going to be the business owners who just simply can't survive because their businesses were too impacted during COVID. And so between all of those people, there's going to be millions of businesses that will likely go away over the next year or so. A lot of those business owners, either they realize it or they don't realize it, but a lot of those business owners are going to come to realize that their businesses don't have to go away, that there's a way that maybe they can get a little bit of money out of their businesses, whether it's a lump sum of cash or maybe seller financing by selling these businesses. There are going to be other business owners who are going to say, I don't want to shut down my business because I care about my employees. And if I can find somebody who can take over the business and just keep my employees employed, I'm happy to give it away. But long story short, over the next year or so, I think there are going to be millions of small businesses that are going to either go away or change hands. And as somebody who likes the idea of buying businesses, that means there's going to be a huge opportunity over the next year to take over some small businesses at a very low value, potentially get seller financing, potentially get businesses handed to me if I'm willing to keep the employees employed, or maybe just buy the hard assets from the business. And so I see 2020 and 2021 as kind of being very similar for business people as 2008, 9, and 10 were for real estate people. A huge opportunity
Right.
that's going untapped.
I'm with you there. And I actually think I'm all into layering your efforts, right? If you're already there, just open your mouth. So, I mean, as real estate investors talking to buyers and sellers all the time, you're in front of everybody all the time anyways. A lot of people that you come across might be business owners.
Yep.
There's an opportunity there. In fact, any of you that are listening, if anybody wants to like start sort of a business buying committee, right? I know personally, I don't have time to do everything myself, right? But I'm with Jay here. I think there's an opportunity. And if we get a few smart people together that would like to work together on business buying, like a business buying club, sort of, reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Jay, I got funds laying around. I got extra money. If you ever come across something, I value your opinion. I know that you're going to vet things well. And I'd like to be a part of any type of buying group, maybe, because I can't do it all myself. A lot of us can't, right? And I want to just surround myself. My goal for 2021 is to continue to surround myself with very, very smart people and leverage each other's network power, money, connections, everything else that we can do. So
absolutely,
let me in your club is all I'm saying. And for those of you here in the Seattle area, I just think there's so much opportunity of crossover between, we're already there as real estate investors and agents. We're in the business of talking to people all the time. And if you just learn about how to buy a business and you plug in, we'll twist Jay's arm, come back on and do deep dive on that subject. Maybe we're going to be able to dig out those opportunities as we are already going about our other business. So I'll move past that.
Hey guys, it's Julie here with a quick break from the show to discuss an opportunity some of you may have interest in, which is to work more closely with me. On almost a daily basis, I get calls from investors and brokers, both new and experienced, asking me for guidance or advice. I love helping you guys out, and it keeps me on my toes too. So with that said, I wanted to let you know that I have a private broker coaching community called the VIP Education Community. And the best part is that it's 100% free. That's right, it's free to join. So whether you're a traditional broker or a broker investor, my VIP education community offers personalized one-on-one coaching from not just me, but also from my experienced broker friends with expertise in all disciplines of real estate and real estate investing. We'll teach and share our modern marketing strategies, our tech and lead generation resources, plus teach you how to identify or offer up opportunities for yourself or for your clients using techniques such as seller financing, lease options, land entitlement deals, BRRRR investing, flipping, multifamily or commercial coaching, whatever you like. We've got it all covered for you. The future of real estate is changing fast, and to stay in the game, it's time to learn about all the options you can offer your buyer and seller clients, as well as, if you want, learn how to use those skills to grow your own real estate portfolio. If you'd like more details about joining my VIP education community, reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com or text me at 206-910-2985 or just send me a Facebook message. My new favorite phrase is community equals confidence. So let's navigate the future of real estate together. Now, back to the show.
So when you're investing in real estate, Jay, do you prefer single family, multifamily, or new construction? Just curious.
So we do all three. We started out in single family. We've done about 400 single family flips over the last decade. We have done a bunch of single family new construction. Like I mentioned, we did our first syndication. We did a 150 unit apartment complex in Houston that we just closed on a couple months ago. And now I want to kind of graduate over the next year or two into multifamily development. So for me, it's very much a step function. So I like to do bigger and bigger things. And
is it because you like the thrill of the chase, the learning, the challenge? Or because you really want to build a multifamily, you know what I mean? For
me, houses and apartments, they're all just assets. And again, I'm a business guy. And for me, it's all just inventory. So it doesn't matter if I'm selling single family homes or building single family homes, multifamily, whether I'm selling shoes or food in a restaurant. For me, it's the thrill of the business and growing the business. And I love the idea that multifamily gives that economies of scale. New construction gives a whole lot of new challenges. So for me, it's just graduating to new and bigger challenges, new and bigger business challenges. And it just so happens that multifamily tends to be more of a challenge than single family, and new construction tends to be more of a challenge than renovating.
So fair to say it's part of your joy of just learning and taking on new challenges, right? I mean, as far
Absolutely.
as that goes, you're not choosing to do this because obviously the bigger the risk, the bigger reward. Multifamily projects can create larger amounts of equity faster if you get it right and so on. Okay, cool. I was going to say, do you think investors should choose one specific niche?
Yeah. So I am a big believer that people have different personalities. I absolutely wish I was one of those people that could spend the next 30 years focused on one niche and becoming absolutely the best in the world at it. And for anybody out there that has that personality, that has the ability to focus on something for the next 10 or 20 or 50 years and become the best in the world at it, that is absolutely the better path. Now, for those people like me, who can't do that because I would lose my mind, I would be miserable. I might be able to do it, but I might be able to become the best of the world at something, but I would become absolutely miserable doing it. So I'm not going to try and put myself in that box that I just doesn't work for me. And so for people like me that get bored, what I would say is, one, people like me run this risk of shiny object syndrome, jumping into something, doing it for 2 months, not really getting good at it, finding something else and jumping in. Don't do that. At least you have to be able to commit for at least a few years. You have to be, I'm a big fan of the 80-20 rule. You need to be able to get to 80% proficient in whatever you do. You need to be able to get smart enough and good enough and experienced enough in whatever you do to be able to then move on, but still be able to make profits from that thing you do. I don't consider myself a house flipper anymore, but I still flip houses. I don't consider myself a single family landlord anymore, but I still pick up single family rentals. I got good enough at those strategies that I could kind of add them to my bag of my quiver of arrows. And if I see a single family flip that works for me, I can jump on it. If I see a single family rental that works for me, I can jump on it. I can be opportunistic because I spent years getting good at these things. And even though they're not my primary focus now, I know how to do them. And so I don't have to let deals pass me by. So for anybody out there that doesn't have that personality to focus on something for the next 10 or 20 or 30 years, what I would tell them is make sure you at least focus on something for a few years, get really good at it, be able to do it in your sleep, and then move on to the next thing. Do that for a few years, get really good at it, and then move on to the next thing. And I think that's it's a good balance for somebody like me who gets bored easily, but can also focus long enough to get really good at something before I have to move on.
I identify. So you're gonna be writing any new books in 2021?
I do have one book that's about halfway done. Unfortunately, it's been about halfway done for about a year. It's been a tough one to write, but it's a book all about it's essentially a finance textbook. It's not really a textbook, but best way to describe it is kind of a finance textbook for real estate investors. So it's all about the numbers and the formulas and analyzing and becoming a better investor by understanding the math
on the debt.
So all the math. So equity math, debt math, deal analysis math, portfolio management math, cash flow management math, all the math that good business owners and investors need to understand.
So you're traveling nicely down my rabbit hole here by that comment there. So I'm just going to say, for a long time, I have personally believed that real estate investors learn this business backwards, where they learn about flipping houses or, maybe BRRRRs or multifamily or wholesaling, whatever it is that they first come across in their guru education or their videos, or whatever. In my personal opinion, and I've wanted to shout this from the mountaintops, is I believe that investors should first learn about debt and financing as their introduction to real estate. So instead of going out learning how to flip a house, we should force them to understand how to think like a lender, how to be a good borrower, how to make sure that you protect your borrowing power, understand all the different loan programs, whether that be with hard money, private money, cross collateralizing, how, burn lenders, or multifamily lenders underwrite your deals. And that, because when you learn that, guys, this is my, what I'm saying to you. If I could give you one gift to kick off your year, trust me when I say, stop watching videos about how to flip a house and go watch videos about financing and debt. Learn everything you can about how properties are underwritten, how lenders think, and all that stuff. Because what that allows you to do, that's one step, it will allow you to understand how to make deals better. You have to almost start with the end in mind, right? You have to know what kind of permanent loan you can put in place, especially with like multifamily and stuff like that. Before you even get started, you are underwriting your stabilized loan at the end, whether it's a BRRRR or a multifamily, a commercial project or anything. And I feel that investors, just like it's not put in their face how that should be the first thing that they learn about. What do you have to say about understanding financing as your introduction to real estate? Not once you find out because you can't get a loan because you screwed up your flip, or you can't buy the deal that's in front of you, this great deal, because you don't understand the financing on how to make it happen, because nobody's paying typically all cash for once they get rolling.
Yeah. So debt is a tool. And equity is a tool, and financing is a tool. And you wouldn't hire a carpenter that didn't know how to use a hammer, would you? Right. You wouldn't hire a painter that didn't know how to use a paintbrush. You wouldn't hire a roofer that didn't know how to use a nail gun. These are the tools. And when people don't understand how to use the tools of their business, they're not going to be very successful in that business. And as real estate investors, our tools, some of our biggest tools are debt and equity. And if we don't understand how they work and how to use them, we're not going to be successful in this business. So you're absolutely right. It's one of the very first things we need to learn. And it's one of the reasons I'm writing this book, because I want people to understand the tools of this business. The tools of this business, things like balance sheets and profit and loss statements, and how debt works and how equity works, how leverage works. And when I say leverage, it's not the same as debt. I mean, they're similar, and we tend to use the terms interchangeably, but leverage is a little bit different than debt when you fully understand it. And these are all the tools that investors must understand if they want to be successful. And you said it perfectly. Too many of us, we start the investing process, the journey before we understand our tools. And again, you don't hire a carpenter that doesn't know how to use a hammer. Don't become a real estate investor that doesn't understand the tools of real estate investing.
I mean, if you understand debt, guys, or underwriting, this is one piece, like he says, debt and equity. We're talking debt. I'm just take my advice. Make sure you work that into your education right away. It'll give you a massive advantage. The most successful real estate investors that I know are highly skilled when it comes to understanding financing. Okay. And this goes right down, continuing down the rabbit hole, especially Jay, since you're in Florida, where the godfathers of structured deals and real estate are, like Pete Fortunato, and John Schaub and those guys. I've been very lucky recently. Thanks again, shout out to Troy Fisher, who has introduced me and to one of Pete Fortunato's students and friends. And what we're going down the rabbit hole now is on structured real estate transactions, and which is essentially, some people call it creative real estate, seller financing, and those types of things. And if you guys want to really get a head start, what I'm trying to do is save you a lot of time and energy and years is if you start your education with learning those skills first, you will beat out all the cash investors that you are more experienced, that have been around forever, that haven't bothered to learn these things because they have been able to have success just buying for cash. You can beat them. You can get those deals if you learn about structured real estate, AKA creative real estate, seller financing, lease options, all that kind of stuff, options, just period options. And you know, the people that you guys don't hear about all the time are 70-year-old guys living in Florida that are the godfathers of, they're the ones doing these, what I feel are these real estate transactions. And that, for me, is my personal goal in 2021, is to continue to hone my skills in communicating, underwriting, and offering up solutions that are using these structured real estate terms and so forth like that. How about you, Jay? You were talking about the equity. That's how to use people's equity. So I'm not having to go to the bank and get a loan. That's what I'm talking about. Those two things: understand how to get a loan, protect your ability to get a loan, and then understand structured real estate transactions. Those two things will put you more the 80-20 rule. That will put you 90% ahead of everybody else, you guys, if you learn those things. Please learn those things. Go ahead, Jay. What do you have to say?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So Pete and I are friends. I've probably learned more from Pete than any other single individual on the planet. He and I have done deals together, and every single time I talk to him about a deal that we're doing and how it's structured, and it's amazingly eye-opening. I thought I knew a lot about this business. I thought I was really good at the finance side. I thought I was really good at the creative structuring side. And I remember the first time I met Pete a couple years ago, and I was in one of his investing groups, and I saw him talk through the structure of a deal. I thought, wow, there's a whole world of real estate that I did not realize exists. And it was from that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And from that day,
there's a whole world of real estate that most of you all listening have no idea that exists. And this is where the pinnacle, the top of the mountain is, right? I think.
It's crazy. I've been part of deals with Pete that involve trading real estate for personal property with somebody else holding a note and somebody else buying a partial of that note and somebody else financing half the personal property and structuring an 8-person deal where basically everybody is making money, and it's a win-win that couldn't have been done with 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 people. And that's really what these structured types of deals are all about. It's really giving everybody what they need in a way that's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win for every person involved, because everybody has different goals, different strengths, different resources.
That's going to be a hot topic for us here at the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing in 2021. I think you guys, I don't know, Joe, if it's probably dropping before this one with Jay here, but we just had one of Pete Fortunato's students, Kevin Kalinsky, on with us here. I don't know if you know Kevin. Thanks again, Troy. Love you, man, for introducing us to Kevin. And I am, can you guys see how excited I am? I am excited. I am inching closer and closer towards getting into making friends with that crowd. And mark my words, my goal for 2021 will be to have Pete Fortunato on this podcast, would be my goal. And if you ever come down to Florida, Pete does a weekly Thursday, basically investor meeting at Denny's. Exactly. Yeah. Where we're actually getting deals done. Yeah. So anybody that comes down to Florida, hit me up. I'll get you into the Pete Fortunato Thursday meeting. Oh, count me in. So my girls, like we talked about earlier, Jay, I have 12-year-old twin girls. And I said, okay, guys, when this is all over, this COVID stuff, and we can go on our first trip, where do you guys want to go? And I have been there, done that on the Disneyland thing, if you get what I'm saying. I'm like, if I can hold that at bay forever, as long as possible, I will. But my daughter, one of them says, I want to go to Walt Disney World in Florida. And I thought for a second, and I thought, yes, we're going, because I am going to go down there and we're going to make it a write-off trip, because I'm going to go get in there with Pete and Kevin, and now you, hopefully, Jay. That is my goal for 2021, everybody. So, just we're going to wrap up. What's the best thing that happened to you in 2020? Let's go positive for a second.
We did our first multifamily syndication. So it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time now. I got serious about it about a year and a half ago. I found a couple of fantastic partners. Actually, I've known them for a long time, but I finally teamed up with them last year. We've been literally looking at deals and making offers for a year now before we finally got something under contract. We actually got it under contract in February. We were getting ready to go out and do the due diligence first week in March when kind of everything shut down. And so we had to back out of the deal. And 3 months later, the seller came to us and said, "Hey, are you still interested?" And we said, "Yeah, we think we are." And so in June, we started moving forward. In September, we closed on that deal. And
congratulations.
So, thank you. It was a big deal for us, and it was a tremendous learning experience. And it's going to set me up for a lot of the stuff that I think I'm going to do over the next few years. So for me, that was kind of the highlight of my 2020 real estate.
What was the hardest part about that syndication deal? Was it actually getting a deal, which can be challenging because, multifamily is sort of run by the brokers a bit. There's much more brokers involved. This whole direct to the seller thing is not as easy when it comes to the multifamily side.
I was very surprised. You're exactly right. I remember we were looking for deals in Houston, and my partners already owned about 600 units in Houston. So I was like, okay, between them owning 600 units and knowing the brokers there, and hey, I'm Jay Scott. All I have to do is pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm Jay Scott. I've got these books and I flipped 400 houses." And
they're like,
Jay who? And you flipped what? We really don't care. If you haven't bought an apartment complex in Houston, you're nothing to us.
Right.
And that's when I realized that their job,
it's a different pond.
100%. And their job is to get their complexes sold the first time. And I could have been Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, but if I had never bought an apartment complex in Houston, I don't have the track record that they even care that I exist. And so it was a lot of hard work to build the relationships and prove that we could get the deal done. And so, like I said, it took us about a year to get that first deal under contract. The second one will probably be a whole lot easier, but still difficult. The third will probably be easier. The fourth will be easier. But that's the nature of the multifamily business. It's controlled by the brokers, and you need to build those relationships and get them trusting you.
Right. I come out of multifamily full time, 16 years. That's all I did my whole life. Still own big buildings myself with partners. And, when I made my transition in 2009, my girls were born in 2008. I thought I was going to go straight into real estate, multifamily syndication. For me, my problem is at that time, I didn't have a network across the country. Right. And I am unwilling to, I don't know how you feel. I'm mom first. That's my first job. And people go, "Why don't you do this stuff?" I mean, I know what to do. I have the resources. I grew up in that. And it's just that I can't, and the Best Buys maybe are out of my state. And I did not ever want to have to travel and be away from my kids. Yep. Like, I'm old, guys. A lot of you guys are young. I won't even tell you how old I am, but I'm a lot older than all you guys. And it's for me, it became lifestyle, right? I don't need to conquer the world and be the one out there, with everything on my name on everything, or that is not me. I'm more like you. I'm a nerd and a thrill of the chase, education. And so I definitely invest in syndication. I've always thought, should I do it or not? And I don't want to commit I don't personally want to commit I think that my problem is I always thought I had to do it myself or kick it off. Now I'm so networked, it'd probably be a lot easier for me to be part of a syndication group. So I'm open to that if anybody's open to that. As long as I don't have to do all the traveling and stuff, I think my network and my know-how is there. But that's kind of what I feel is a missed boat for myself, is becoming a syndicator. So Good for you. Good for you for tackling that. So that's the best thing. What's the worst thing?
The worst thing, I don't like to complain. I'm grateful for everything. And so there's really been, so many people are struggling over the last year that I feel like anything I were to say would ring hollow. But I would say the worst thing is that my wife and I work together. We're partners, and we've been partners for 12 years. And with COVID and our kids basically doing school from home, she's basically turned into Mrs. IT mom, day in and day out, dealing with the remote schooling and helping the kids. And so I do some of that, but she takes the brunt of that. And so the worst part has just been because she's had to kind of be there 24/7 to help the kids with school, that we haven't been able to work together as much. And so that's probably been the worst part of 2020.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people call me and say that they have anxiety because I think a lot of it we all love our kids but having to manage the homeschool stuff, just for you guys that are out there having to do that, no, you're not alone. Even the most successful people are having, extreme challenges like that, including Jay and myself. And, a lot of our friends are all in the same boat. Know that you're not alone. If you need somebody to talk to and vet it off your chest, I'm available for you guys to call, and we'll have some mom talk or some mom dad talk.
Yeah.
And I'm there for you guys. So we're going to wrap it up here. Curious, who do you listen to? Last couple questions here. Who do you learn from, Jay? Like, what's your go-to podcast or educational stuff to keep yourself educated? You're always, like me, I'm always educating others. I have a private broker coaching community, which is really fun for me. And it's to the point where I love seeing them succeed almost more than I like having a great deal for myself. I mean, I love my own great deals or my own great wins, but man, it feels different to help others. But I enjoy, I don't know everything. I'm always learning. I mean, it's like my joy in the morning is I spend 2 hours every morning simply just listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and my secret passion. And as I've tapped into these financial channels on YouTube and my find, aside from you, following you for my macroeconomic education early on, there is this Meet Kevin guy. Have you seen him?
Meet Kevin hopefully is going to be on our podcast in the next few weeks.
Oh man. Well, tell him I said hello. Okay. Because
yes.
I'd love him to be on mine. He's been my find. I enjoy him. He's a fellow nerd again, back to nerd power. Okay. Well, let me know when that's coming up because I'm jealous on that one. Nobody's perfect, but I do enjoy him. I like him because he's smart and he circles in with the stocks and I've made a killing in the stock market this year. I do stocks and real estate myself, just like him. I like the whole thing there. So if you guys haven't heard of Meet Kevin, check out Meet Kevin on YouTube, but, free plug there, Kevin. So now you got to come on my show. You got to come on my show too, Kevin. So who else? Who do you listen to?
So I'm a big believer that the best real estate investors are the good people that are good business people. Too many people think of real estate as separate from business, as this whole separate animal, but it's not. Real estate is really, it's a business like any other, with really high priced inventory. But it's no different. Running a real estate business is no different than running a shoe store or a restaurant or a car dealership. It's just another business. So for me, to become a better real estate investor, I focus on becoming a better business owner. And so a lot of the podcasts that I listen to are focused on becoming a better business owner. And so I like to read a lot of business authors, a lot of business books. I'll listen to podcasts. I have my own podcast that talks about business, and people often ask me, well, you're a real estate guy. Why do you have a business podcast? And I'm like, because that's how I become a better real estate investor, by learning to become a better business owner. And so for me, while a lot of people are out there talking about all the real estate podcasts they listen to, for me, it's really more the business books and the business podcasts and talking to other business owners. If I do have to pick one podcast besides yours that I love, it's the Bigger Pockets Real Estate Podcast. I know it's the go-to for a lot of people. They've been around for about 6 or 7 years, something like 90 million downloads. But every week they have very different guests from very different industries, and just they do a really good job of digging in and learning about different people and industries and niches and aspects of real estate that you don't hear on a lot of podcasts.
Awesome stuff. Yes, if you guys all need to plug into Bigger Pockets for sure. Give me one other thing. Give me one other person that you listen to. That's if you can. Not in our real estate. We're like on your business stuff. Do you have like I listen to this thing called the Pump podcast because I'm all into cryptocurrency.
Got it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of crypto as well. There's a business podcast called The Art of Business that I really like.
Okay.
And then I listen to a lot of economics podcasts. So Harvard Business Review has a great economics podcast. NPR has a great economics podcast. So for me, staying abreast of current events, especially current financial events, is also a huge part of this industry. And I wrote a book last year called Recession-Proof Real Estate Investing, and it's really all about understanding the economic cycle and paying attention to economic indicators to figure out where you should be putting your money and what strategies and tactics you should be focused on at different parts of the economic cycle. So for me, really staying current on economics is huge.
I am following in your footsteps. So where can everybody most easily buy your books? Where would you like them to go to buy your books? Would you guys should just go out, give yourself a Christmas treat or a New Year's treat, because we're just after New Year's, and buy all his books. Where can they get those books from? What's the best spot?
I appreciate that. So they're sold in bookstores, so Barnes & Noble, certainly Amazon.com, or if you want to get them direct from the publisher, where you'll get some bonus materials as well, you can go to biggerpockets.com/store, and that's their bookstore.
Awesome stuff. Well, Jay, today we have learned that you're an introvert, you're a people pleaser, you like angel investing, and that you love ice cream and baking.
Absolutely.
So my final question of the day before we let you go is, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip.
Yep.
There you go, guys. Awesome. Joe, how about you? Do you ever eat ice cream?
Yeah, I'll do chocolate chip cookie dough from time to time if I've done, like a marathon that day.
Well, I consider my marathon just getting through my day with 12-year-old twin girls in school and everything else. So my favorite ice cream, if anybody's wondering, is Rocky Road.
Ooh, yummy.
Rocky Road. All right, guys, that's it. Everybody go out and enjoy some ice cream. Jay, thank you so much for coming on. If we can twist your arm to come back, maybe we can book out on your schedule somewhere. Let's do like a deep dive on buying businesses.
Fantastic.
That would be really something I'd be interested in letting our crowd know about here. For those of you that have enjoyed this and continue to enjoy all our podcasts, we have hundreds of podcasts here on the nuts and bolts of real estate investing. Couple ways to plug in with us. I think the easiest way is to go to our YouTube channel for Seattle Investors Club. Just the reason why is because it's user friendly and it lays out. You can easily see all the different podcasts that we've done in an easy to use format. And there's a bunch of tips and stuff on that. And if you guys have not heard me say it yet, this is so fun. And Jay, you can get in on this too. For 2021, what we are doing is we are inviting all our friends that are in our world to send us videos, 2 to 4 minute or 5 minute, whatever, videos that are educational or aha moments or funny or DIY hacks, anything like that. Send them to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Please go for it. Don't be shy. And we are going to post your video on our YouTube page for Seattle Investors Club. It's going to be really fun. And Joe and I are working on a system where we're going to be letting you guys vote, and we're going to have prizes. We think we're going to do that every week on videos. and those will be labeled as like a little award-winning videos and stuff like that. It's going to be, we don't really want to have like, hey, I got this great deal done and here's my big win. We do want to hear about that. You can throw that onto our Facebook page for Seattle Investors Club. But what we do want to hear is we want to hear from you investors. We want to hear from you conventional lenders, private money lenders, hard money lenders, DIY hacks, funny stuff you see on your properties, where you know, anything that you've fixed something that's been a problem. You guys, anything goes, because I'm going to be vetting them anyways. But don't have to ask, just film it and send it to me. We need a thumbnail. Joe, what do we need to go along with that?
Just a video and a picture, and I'll put together the thumbnail. Okay,
we need a picture to go with it and your video. Anything you guys want to do, we're going to have fun with it. We're going to grow it as it goes. But to kick it off, just start sending me stuff, guys. We'll have like a DIY corner or a lender's corner, kind of like like I said, and we're going to somehow do awards and voting on what we think are helpful or funny videos and stuff like that. So that's what we're kicking off here for 2021. I'm excited to engage with you guys that way and welcome you all to become experts and do your own thing and use our platform, because it's already set up, ready to go, and we want to share all of you guys and all your stuff with the world. So aside from that, plug in with us every single week from 11:30 to 12:30 here Pacific time. Jay, we do have Kevin out from Florida starting to join us, I think. We twisted his arm out of Pete's group there to start hanging out with us a little more. I'd love it for you to jump on with us as a surprise. Every Thursday morning from 11:30 to 12:30, we do this roundtable meetup where we're talking about, basically our goal is to solve anybody's problem, we'll call it, for lack of a better word, and stealing the term, collective genius. We get together. If anybody has a problem or needs some help on a deal or whatever, bring it to us and we'll talk you through it. Bring your deals, bring your resources. We drop massive nuggets and resources all the time. We're also recording these weekly meetings every week. Those have all been posted on our YouTube page for 2020 during this COVID year, so we can help support everybody. Going forward in 2021, we're still recording them. It is still going to be free to engage every week with us on our weekly roundtable meetup. That is in evergreen topics, people from across the country. You don't have to be out here in the Seattle area. But if you want to get the recordings, those are going to be only available to people through Seattle Investors Club, which only costs $220 a year to join. And then you can listen to all the recordings, get all the stuff dropped in the chats. It's well worth it. The best money probably that you're going to be spending in a long time is that $220. To get access to that weekly meeting, go to meetup.com and look for Seattle Investors Club and just grab the link to the Zoom meeting every Thursday morning. And we'll see you 11:30 Pacific time for an hour. It's amazing. It is amazing, some of the stuff that we come up with there. Like I call it, I'm stealing the term collective genius, so nobody sue me. I'm just calling it that for lack of a better name. And that's all I got for today. Again, reminder, you guys are going to go to, what are we calling it here, Jay? Best way to connect with you, I'm looking at my notes, is
connectwithjscott.com.
There you go. Connect with Jay Scott. I guess it's that way. Connectwithjscott.com. So, Joseph, how can everybody find the details of today's podcast?
Yep. Lastly, if you guys are driving and need to look up all the notes that we've taken for today, head over to seattleinvestorsclub.com/136. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/136.
Awesome stuff. Well, we appreciate your support. The more you guys support us by hitting the subscribe channel on your YouTube page and engaging with us, it's free to join our Seattle Investors Club Facebook page. Again, doesn't matter if you're in Florida or anywhere else. You can do that. And we talk about topics that are evergreen. But other than that, we'll sign off today. And thank you again, Jay. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.